Imagine hitting the jackpot, discovering a gold mine in a remote, forgotten corner of the American West. The very thought sends shivers of excitement down your spine, promising untold riches and a life of luxury. But what if that gold, that shimmering promise of wealth, was nothing more than a meticulously crafted illusion? What if the entire discovery, the entire company built around it, was a cruel, elaborate hoax designed to bilk investors out of millions? In 1872, two prospectors unearthed what they claimed was the richest gold and diamond deposit in history. The world went absolutely wild, but the truth behind their discovery would unfurl into one of the most audacious and perplexing swindles ever recorded, one that fooled some of the most influential men in America and left a trail of ruined fortunes and shattered reputations. The question isn't just how they did it, but how almost everyone fell for it. To truly grasp the magnitude of this deception, we need to transport ourselves back to the America of the early 1870s. The California gold rush of '49 still echoed in the collective memory, a siren call promising instant wealth to anyone bold or lucky enough to strike it rich. The nation was still reeling from the Civil War, its economy in a volatile state, but with an undercurrent of untamed optimism, especially in the burgeoning West. People were eager to believe in the next big thing, the next frontier, the next opportunity for astronomical returns. It was an era ripe for speculation, and where speculation thrives, so too does opportunity for exploitation. Enter Philip Arnold and John Slack, two unassuming prospectors who, on a warm summer day in 1872, walked into the San Francisco office of investment brokers George D. Roberts and William Ralston, CEO of the Bank of California. They weren't just carrying samples of gold dust. They had raw, uncut diamonds glinting with an inner fire unlike anything ever found in North America. Their story was simple, yet tantalizing. They had stumbled upon an untouched, vast, and incredibly rich diamond and gold field in a remote, undisclosed location. The very notion was revolutionary, a source of diamonds in the American West. It was unheard of, yet here they were, seemingly concrete proof glistening in their hands. As word began to whisper through the financial elite of San Francisco, a frenzy started to brew. Dreams of Midas-like wealth danced in the eyes of powerful bankers and industrialists, envisioning a new El Dorado. The stage was set, not for a gold rush, but for a diamond rush and a colossal deception. Arnold and Slack, two men who seemingly appeared out of nowhere with their incredible discovery, immediately understood the power of secrecy and scarcity. They didn't just present their samples. They wove an intricate narrative around their find, emphasizing the extreme remoteness of the location and the importance of keeping it confidential to prevent a stampede that would devalue their discovery. This air of mystery only served to heighten the intrigue. They skillfully played hard to get, often disappearing for weeks, only to reappear with more dazzling samples, fueling the growing excitement. Their samples were indeed authentic. What investors didn't know was that Arnold had spent a small fortune in Europe purchasing low-quality, uncut diamonds and then had meticulously planted them, salted, into potential mining sites across the western states. He was creating the illusion of a naturally occurring, vast deposit. Eventually, Arnold and Slack allowed a select group of wealthy and influential investors to visit their extraordinary site. This wasn't just any group. It included General George B. McClellan, the famous Civil War general and former presidential candidate, and Charles Tiffany of the renowned Tiffany & Co. jewelry empire. The blindfolded journey to the site, a labyrinthine trek designed to disorient and confuse, culminated in a breathtaking reveal. Diamonds and gold nuggets seemingly scattered across the ground, just waiting to be picked up. Think about that for a moment. One of the world's foremost jewelers, an expert in gems, was looking at these rocks and falling for it. Tiffany himself declared that the diamonds were real and of good quality. The investors, awestruck and utterly convinced, formed the San Francisco and New York Mining and Commercial Company, investing a mind-boggling $10 million in capital, a princely sum in 1872, equivalent to hundreds of millions in today's money. Arnold and Slack, as compensation for their discovery, walked away with $600,000 in cash, effectively selling their fraudulent claim to these eager capitalists. The company directors immediately dispatched a top mining engineer to establish operations, confident they were on the verge of uncovering the greatest mineral wealth in history. The world was about to witness a diamond boom unlike any other. However, some shadows began to lengthen across this glittering prospect. The U.S. Geological Survey was already skeptical of the existence of such a diamond field in North America. One man, Clarence King, a brilliant geologist and director of the 40th Parallel Survey, was particularly troubled. King had an intuitive sense that something was amiss. The reports of diamonds alongside gold, the vaguely described location, and the bizarre geological conditions that would be required for such a deposit simply didn't add up in his scientific mind. He grew increasingly suspicious, and his curiosity transformed into a mission. King, acting on a hunch and driven by a scientific desire for truth, decided to take matters into his own hands. He recognized the descriptions of the approach to the site from the investors as being near the junction of Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. Combining his own vast geological knowledge of the region with a keen understanding of prospecting law, he located the likely fraudulent mine. What he found there was a carefully constructed mirage. He observed not merely diamonds, but a strange mixture of various grades and cuts from all corners of the globe, subtly indicating artificial placement. He saw telltale signs of human intervention, small disturbances in the soil, and a general lack of the geological features necessary for natural diamond formation. King spent days meticulously examining the supposed diamond field. He found diamonds embedded in the roots of sagebrush plants, precisely where an unsophisticated salting technique would place them. He noticed that the gold nuggets were suspiciously rounded, as if they had traveled great distances rather than being angular and freshly unearthed. The clincher came when King, having gathered overwhelming evidence, presented his findings to the public. He publicly denounced the mine as a monumental fraud, accusing Arnold and Slack of orchestrating a brazen hoax. The revelation sent shockwaves through the financial world. The initial investors, who had so eagerly poured their fortunes into the venture, were aghast. Their dream of unlimited riches dissolved into a humiliating nightmare of public ridicule and massive financial loss. The San Francisco and New York Mining and Commercial Company, once poised to dominate the global gem market, collapsed overnight. The aftermath of the Great Diamond Hoax was predictably chaotic and dramatic. Legal battles ensued, with investors desperately trying to recoup their losses. Arnold, the mastermind, proved to be far more elusive and cunning than his initial unassuming demeanor had suggested. He had already liquidated his share of the $600,000, investing it shrewdly in real estate and other ventures, making it incredibly difficult for anyone to recover the stolen money. He was essentially beyond the reach of his victims. Slack, his accomplice, was a less sophisticated player and largely disappeared from public view, believed to have died shortly after the exposure of the fraud. Arnold, however, returned to Elizabeth, Kentucky, his hometown, and remarkably, lived a prosperous life. He even sued some of his accusers for libel and won, further confounding those he had duped. The entire affair became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked speculation and the alluring power of greed. It exposed how even the most astute and supposedly sophisticated investors could be blinded by the promise of easy wealth. The Great Diamond Hoax left an indelible mark on American financial history, not just for the sheer scale of the deception, but for the profound cracks it created in public trust. It became a byword for a spectacular, audacious con. Even today, the story serves as a potent reminder that not everything that glitters is gold, and sometimes the most extraordinary claims require the most extraordinary scrutiny. The diamond mine was a lie, a carefully constructed fantasy that cost millions and ruined reputations. If you're interested in more historical mysteries that expose the dark side of human ambition, make sure to check out our next video where we explore the shocking truth behind the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. There is always another layer to these hidden stories, always another secret waiting to be uncovered.